The pinnacle of amazing on the internet was homestarrunner.com, so you could watch strong bad videos.
I loved Homestar
Right?
Runner.
Oh my god, strong bad was my hero.
Yes, I was
Trogdor
so
the
into
Burninator.
that when it was a thing.
My son
that's
still
awesome.
doesn't understand why he can't say it. He's like, he can't spell it, but he did ask me. He's like, Dad, why does whenever I go to the internet on your phone, like my personal hotspot, he's like, why does it show up on my iPad as something called Trogdor? I'm like, my personal hotspot is named, my phone is named Trogdor the Burninator.
Oh, that's hilarious. I don't know if Rich is on yet, but I have so many things in my house that are connected to Star Trek. So many 1701 things. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I feel like, and my kids are always like, why is this 1701? And I'm like, it's the registry of the Enterprise, kids. That's why. So, yeah.
I picked my son up from school or from the YMCA today. So he goes to the YMCA for like aftercare after his elementary school is done. And so I got there, picked him up, and as I'm walking up, another daddy got there at the same time as me. And so I just happened to walk a little faster because I'm like, I don't know him. I'm like, I don't walk right next to this guy. I'll just kind of walk fast. And as I walk around the building and then walk up the ramp to go into the classroom, he walks by and he's got a Rebel Alliance t-shirt on. And I'm like, nice shirt, dude. And he's like, oh yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. So I come into the classroom, sign my son out. Son runs over, gives me a hug. And then as he's getting his stuff, he goes, Daddy! I'm like, what? Turn around. He points at the guy's shirt. Like, he's like 2 feet away from the guy. Points at his shirt. And I'm like, I know, buddy. I saw it already. And the dad just looks at me like, okay, did I miss something? And I'm like, I wanted to say something. I'm like, no, I'm not going to make this more awkward than it needs to be. Like, oh my gosh. What a week. I can't believe they're already at the end of the Book of Boba Fett.
I know, it's so weird that it's over already.
I know.
Yeah. And then we got a couple of weeks, and then it's Obi-Wan.
Wait,
I'm
weeks?
super excited about
When does that come out?
Yeah.
May
Isn't
25th.
that-
Oh,
Yeah.
you said a couple of weeks. I'm like, that's okay. Hey,
Yeah, I mean that in weeks. Like, I mean that in, like, you know, we're almost. This is funny because I'm doing so much planning at work, but in my mind, it's already the end of February.
It does feel like it's already-
honestly, what is it? It's 18 days away, and it's the end of February.
I
You
know.
know, it's
It is.
like it moves fast.
it is completely wild. It is 100% wild. What was I going to tell you? Oh, yeah, and actually, speaking of movies that are coming out, I just saw a trailer, or I saw a video on TikTok with 2 characters from a movie, and I'm like, wait, what? And it turns out that apparently they're making another Jurassic Park movie. It
Yes.
comes out later this year. Jurassic Park
Weird.
World Dominion or something.
Yeah.
And like
I
everyone's
didn't
back
know
in it.
about that.
Well, I read the bio on IMDb. Apparently, this is it. This is the final Jurassic Park movie. They're done. It like literally says the epic conclusion to the entire series, where all the old characters come back. So Laura Dern and whoever played Alan Grant, Jeff Goldblum, along
Jeff
with
Goldblum's in there.
all the new characters too. And I'm like, okay, but now it's dinosaurs are roaming the earth, and I'm like, okay.
Okay.
That's a thing apparently.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that was one of those things where there was a moment where there was a desire to make every franchise, like everything come back. Like, we're gonna do a reboot of this. We're gonna do a reboot of that. And I remember I went and saw Jurassic World in the theater, and I remember thinking, oh, this is like Jurassic Park again. Like, this is very similar to Jurassic Park. And then they were like, yeah, and there's going to be a sequel after this and a sequel after that. And I just thought the Jurassic Park sequels kind of suffered. Like, I don't know how you're going to make these world sequels work.
Right?
And I feel like it almost was like a joke that someone had in a writer's room. Like, man, you know what would be funny? Jurassic Park, that's like Disneyland. You know what would be cool? Jurassic World. Yeah. And then it just like got out of control. And then someone gave Colin Trevorrow like $300 million, and then someone had a movie. So yeah. I don't know where that's gonna go.
When the original series came out, like the second movie was okay. Like, it was there, it was fine. The dinosaurs coming to San Diego was a little like, or whatever city they came to was like, okay, fine, you're here, great. Yeah. The third movie I actually enjoyed because it was more brutal. It was more raw. It was like, okay, yeah, no, I can get into this. Like, that's good. But then when they remade it, I'm like, and then you watch it, it's okay. We're on the island now. Hammond got his dream, but it's basically the original Jurassic Park just again. Then they make a second movie. No, it's going to be different this time. No, it's not. You escape from the island, and the dinosaurs come with you. Some of the dinosaurs go back to a city, and then they break loose. I'm like, that's the second movie again. I'm like, what do you... I'm sorry, how are these different? I'm like, how are these new movies? I'm like, you just got Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. I don't know how these movies are any different from the original ones. They're both kind of playing the same role, so... Anyway, this is clearly not the Jurassic Park chat, but...
No.
And Rich is already ready for us. Oh, it's trying to...
Oh, yeah. I saw my Star Trek dig there. I'm ready. I'm ready.
We'll throw you up in the chat here in just a second, Rich. All right, shall we get started then? Shall we do it?
Let's do it.
All right, me switch this over. That is me. What happened? Wait, no. Hold on. This didn't work. No, we're gonna fix this. What happened?
We're gonna go for it again.
Go back here. Okay, hold on.
Hey,
there we go.
This still worked.
Let's try to go. Okay.
I'm still here.
You know what keeps happening, and I have not figured out how to fix this yet, is if you have iCloud mapped to your Mac, after a certain period of time, it automatically archives files that are mapped to iCloud to the cloud. So it leaves a placeholder on your computer, and one of those files is an overlay file for Ecamm. And so every couple of weeks, it just disappears out of the scenes, and I have to go back and double click and re-download it from iCloud. It's very annoying. Try that again. Hold on. We got this. I can make the technology work.
Let's do it.
That goes there. That goes there. Where's our wipe? There we go.
Hey,
there it is.
Different bad title. I messed up the title, but that's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's still gonna work.
We're all here. We all made it.
We all made it. We're here. Everyone's here.
Hey,
Rich is
everybody.
here. Hello, Rich. Rob Thomas is here. What did Rich say? Rich said, "Yeah, Star Trek dull. People finding out of the license plate number."
Yeah, it's a deep burn. It's a deep burn.
It did.
It's almost like a level 12 phaser burn. You know, I mean, it's up there.
Right. Phasers.
So, but yeah, I'm like super excited to be talking about this tonight. As we've talked, like the last couple of episodes, I came with a lot of notes. I'm so excited that Brandon, you're here to be able to get into this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to be really prepped for this. So I just finished watching this the second time before this episode started, like before us coming into this podcast. Like I just sat down and was like, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna watch it again. This is great. But Jeff, I feel like we should probably do spoiler alerts before we start here.
Yes, and I didn't. Oh, that's a sound effect I definitely needed. I needed a spoiler alert sound effect, and I didn't get it. What do I have? Do I have anything good? I have a gasp. There we go. We'll use a gasp when the spoilers show up. That's all we have. But so everyone knows, and if somebody wants to type it in the chat, here, I'll make it show up on the screen. Spoiler warning. We are talking about, ignore the thing in the upper left corner or right corner or whatever it is. We are not talking about comic books tonight. We are talking about the Book of Boba Fett, the season finale, and there's no way we can do that without spoilers. So this is probably going to be like an episode review and a series review or a season review. But yeah, there's going to be, as Brandon just said, spoiler warning. Huge spoiler warning.
Go.
There you go. Big, large, cool. as big as I can make it. Spoiler warning. Yeah. So yeah, we should dive in. And Siri, be quiet. My phone's talking to me. Ryan, you took the notes. I mean, I've got some on my iPad, but you have clearly got the notes. You got to rewatch it probably more than either of the other two of us. So why don't you kick us off wherever you want to kick us off?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what would be a fun round, and we did this kind of the last two times, and I always liked how we ended on a letter grade. And I think that what would be fun is we can end this episode on letter grade for this episode and letter grade for the series, because now we've seen all of it. But I'd like to maybe start all three of us with we don't need to get into spoilers. We just talk about generally what we thought about the episode. And I'm gonna start with the comment that I made in my notes was, it's all the things I hate about the Book of Boba Fett with all the things I love about the Mandalorian. That is how this episode felt to me. And I did not need the title credit at the end that said directed by Robert Rodriguez to know that this was directed by Robert Rodriguez. I'm sorry, I can see my videos pausing all up here. Yeah, I was really bummed out by that. And not because, and it's funny too, because I was like, Robert Rodriguez, you did El Mariachi, you did Desperado, you did Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Planet Terror. I mean, I can go on and on. Like he's done some solid movies. He knows how to shoot action. And man, right away I was like, oh, they brought Robert Rodriguez back. That's an issue. But yeah, I would say that this episode had a lot of things, and so many that I was like, I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss something that I should have. It had a lot of things I didn't like, and those things weren't that bad, but there were a ton of things that I absolutely loved. There were like a handful of those things. Actually, there were a lot that I didn't like, and then a handful of things that I just loved. There were lines in here that I loved. There was even an exchange that happens between two characters where one character says, "You've gone soft in your old age," and then the other one responds, "We all do." I love a lot of these lines. Even the overt Godfather reference of the families of something being the smart move. But yeah, I was almost thoroughly unsatisfied in the story that they were trying to tell. I was very satisfied in the story that I found that started a couple of episodes ago. But yeah, I'd love to hear what other people thought.
Go for it.
Do you want to go, Jeff?
No, go for it, dude. Absolutely.
So I feel similarly, maybe not quite as much to like one side or the other, but yes, it was definitely a Robert Rodriguez episode. I liked it a lot. I liked most of the things that happened in the episode. It's just like, I was just talking to Jeff before we started. Some of the way things were timed or paced were just like weird. And you could tell it was like directing decisions, but it's like one of those things you can't really put your finger on it. I don't know. I liked a lot of it though. You know, I think it did do a pretty good job of taking all of the elements of both the first 4 episodes and the 2 episodes that kind of weren't episodes of Boba Fett. And it tied them together pretty well, and it gave us at least justification for like, oh, okay, that's why we had to see all of that. I think it did a good job of that, because I don't think a lot of the scenes would have been nearly as satisfying if we didn't have like episode 5 and 6 prior to that to like see the, you know, the build up. But yeah, I don't know. It was just the directing for me. That was the only thing that there were a few times where I was like, it just felt weird. Like that moment should have been really cool, but for some reason it didn't land. Or like, I think the first like 10 minutes of the episode, especially, didn't like grab me right away. Like the first 10 minutes of the episode, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like this isn't feeling like, I don't know if I'm going to be as stoked about this as I was the last 2. But overall, as a whole, I still liked it. Like I still think it was pretty good overall, plot wise.
Yeah, I'm with you both. And Brendan, when we were talking about this earlier, as you were just describing it, the pacing and a lot for me was the dialogue. Ryan and I said this like right before you joined in the pre-show, that I didn't need to see Robert Rodriguez at the end to know that this was what his felt like. It was such an obvious, and like to your point, like I don't want to dig on the guy because he's a great director, but each one of his episodes, they felt like they were just misplaced. Like they were just completely misplaced in the story. Like, what are you doing? These don't even feel coherent. In this episode specifically, the dialogue between the characters was almost akin to watching I'll give an example. Listening to Boba and Fennec talking in the ruins of the cantina about them being surrounded, or like, we're gonna hold up here and this will be kind of our last stand. It's almost as if the two of them are still standing on the balcony of Jabba's palace watching the events below, like they're the commentators up in the booth watching what's happening and talking about it without really any sort of emotion or importance that you're about to be surrounded and attacked. Like, granted, I know that you're like, Boba, you're a changed person, but still you're both about to be surrounded and attacked, and you're both kind of just talking like you're just stoic and cool with that. And I'm like, I get that in one sense, but in another sense, there's a sense of urgency here. And even the people that are working for you, that are there with you, they're not even expressing that. And it really took away the intensity of what was supposed to be sort of a showdown situation. It made that whole situation feel like, a word you've used before, Ryan, when we've done other episodes, is it made the breaking point of the tension when the kind of army showed up and they're going to fight. It made that like feel completely unearned. Like, there's no, like, oh, you showed up and we're going to fight you. Oh, sure. Of course that was going to happen. But in the episode, it just felt like these are just things that are happening and there's no reason for them. They're just showing up on screen. You're not building up the emotion, not building the tension. Even when the people from Freetown show up and they're all like, it's supposed to be, with the music change and everything, it's supposed to be like, oh my God, we're here. They're all saved. I even watched that and I'm like, Boba Fett and the Mandalorian are getting shot by blasters in Beskar. And it's going ping, ping, but there's no projectiles. It's just laser bolts that are they're diffusing on Beskar, and they're falling over and on the ground. I'm like, you're getting hit in Beskar. It's not even damaging the Beskar. Like, there's no bullet to push you back or create more like a dent in your armor that would hurt your chest. It's just binging, so you're getting knocked around a little bit. Like, I don't understand how you're supposed to be in pain right now. Like this, everything about this feels wrong. It just. It was tough.
It felt like he was sitting there and like, oh, well, it can't be too easy for them. They need to struggle, so just make them struggle without like thought
hey guys,
behind
just
why.
Flounder about a little bit on the ground. Thanks.
Oh, I even thought about how that must have looked when they were filming it. Like, okay, so like, I don't know, 100 guys are shooting at you guys right now. What? Yeah, they're just coming. All the shots are coming in all around you. And they're like, yeah, but once they realize that they can't really get through the Beskar, do they just keep shooting us? Yeah, they just keep shooting you guys. But don't worry. There's going to be a scene that's like that where you guys are going to be shooting at bubbles that you can't shoot through, but you'll just keep trying. And that was, these were the moments where I was like, I remember watching Planet Terror, and Planet Terror is like a really weird movie. It's like kind of post-peak Robert Rodriguez, and I remember thinking that, oh wow, like these are pretty good action sequences. Like there's a character named El Rey that I really liked, and then I remember thinking about, oh yeah, I love the sequence with Quentin Tarantino when he's in the bar and Desperado. I love the when Danny Trejo is like throwing the knives and stuff. Like these are all like high tension scenes, and that is the thing that you both are talking about with the lack of tension. It's actually the note that I have that's right here. I wrote there was more tension in the end of Mando season 1 when they're inside of the cantina, same setup, inside of the cantina, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And I think that's because the thing that I had been expecting the whole time, which was actually spent on the Mandalorian and not on Boba Fett, was and when I mean the Mandalorian, I mean Din Djarin's story is I kept telling Jeff, I was like, oh, there's going to be some Werner Herzog that appears. There's going to have to be some big evil bad guy that's going to really be like the Don Barzini of it all, like someone who's the real person pulling all the strings. And that is going to be like your Moff Gideon, who's going to show up in a scene that's like that and add a bunch of tension. Someone who is really calm in a really crazy moment. And instead, and you have characters that are panicking. You have characters that are like, what are we going to do? In Mando season 1, they're like, gosh, how are we going to get out of here? And in this one, your characters, your main characters are 100% calm. By the way, I think we're moving into spoilers now, but here they're faced with certain death, and I even was writing down, what a terrible plan. Hope for backup. I was like, I seriously kept thinking, like, I must be missing something here. But I felt like the action sequences actually took me out of the moment to the points that you both are making, like directorial choices. Like, they had characters running about, and I was like, I never felt like anyone was in mortal danger. I remember writing down that if you're going to show this, if you're going to show characters in danger, someone has to pay a price. Like, someone's got to die, and it's a big way, and then nobody dies, or at least they don't, or not enough people die. Not enough of the main people die.
Right.
And the other thing that I thought was funny was there were all these weird moves. Like, at one point, one of the mods is shooting and he spins around and shoots again. And I thought, I can tell you're just spinning right now. And I felt like the direction was just, do something cool, spin. And I thought, oh, this doesn't look like good action sequence. And all the shots were too tight. This is a big place.
There were a lot of really tight shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That specific scene you just mentioned, where the one mod spun around and shot, it reminded me. It felt like what they were trying to do is a scene from is it the Magnificent Seven? The most recent version of it with with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt and all those Ethan Hawke and all those guys, where they surround the bad guys in the town and they kind of walk down on the side streets so that the bad guys can't leave the town. And Denzel Washington's character rides down like on the outside of the town, and the guys are paralleling him, and he shoots, and then rolls over the side of his horse and does the same thing. I'm like, but there was tension in the scene. Like, he's really good at what he does. He's got one pistol, but he's riding for a reason, and they're riding. But when this guy did it, no matter what they tried to do with those mods' bikes, and I'm good with it. Like, I'm good with the bright colored Vespas. Like, that's cool.
Yeah,
like,
that doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
totally
I'm
right.
cool with that. I'm cool with that.
I love it. But they never go fast enough. They never move. Even when they're moving fast, it's almost like they're trying to go fast, but it's almost like they were the CGI artist couldn't make them look like, because when Finnick gets on her speeder, it speeds up for a second and then it shoots down a side road.
Yeah, I was like, why aren't the Vespas doing that?
So when he does that on his and leans over the side, I'm like, you could have just got off the thing and walked and shot. Like, it's not moving that fast, so I don't know what you're doing. Like, you're on a cart that's being pulled by a mule. I don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't feel like it's placed properly. Something is wrong about what you just saw on screen.
Yes. The crazy thing about that is when Pelimoto and Din and Grogu are on the actual, basically, horse and carriage, like the carriage with the little ball droid pulling it. That
I was about to say
significantly faster.
Yeah. How is that a thing?
Why?
How is that? Like, how?
I know. These are, I mean, obviously these are like little complaints, you know, like it's Star Wars. It can be goofy, fine. Like I love the prequel movies, and those are plenty goofy, but like, it is at the same time, like, you knew to make the speeder fast. What stopped you? Like, what stopped you with these?
Yeah, and that sequence was great when she jumps on the speeder. Like, it's so funny, Brandon, because I was about to say the exact same thing. The droid, like, little cart thing was moving really fast. I mean, so fast that Mando's having to, like, hold on to it. But yeah, those Vespas, like, even when they would, like, they couldn't really bank. They never looked like they were a real thing in the world.
Right.
They looked like they were probably there on set, but they were on like a track or something. Yeah. But yeah, I want to throw actually something that, get over that.
Speaking of those bikes, there is a scene where everyone's together, and then Boba Fett and Finnick is telling Boba, we got our flanks covered. Like, we got eyes here and eyes there. I'm like, cool. I mean, that's a smart plan. But when it cuts over to that, it's basically, she's like, we got the mods over here cruising through, checking for pikes. And then we've got the Good Morning Guard standing here chilling. And when it shows them, the two on the bikes are cruising through on their ape hangers, sorry, anybody who doesn't know motorcycles, like especially big bikes in the world, if you see someone riding a big motorcycle and they have the big handlebars up here, they're referred to as ape hangers, just so everyone knows. You see them with their ape hangers as they're kind of cruising through the spaceport area, and they ride by the Gamorrean guards who are just standing there in the middle of all these like tourist ships that are just arriving on the planet. 2 Gamorrean guards with weapons just standing there like hanging out, and the 2 mods ride by them and kind of give them a little wink and a nod. And when I saw all of that laid out, I'm like, everything that you just laid out here this is what we call what is the word? Why am I blanking on conspicuous. You were supposed to be inconspicuous, and you are literally standing in front of everybody as the people already know are your guards, saying, "Hi, we're here, we're guards, but you can't surprise us." Like, that whole scene felt like they were trying to almost do kind of a war movie or a Last Stand movie, or like the Last Man Standing sort of vibe, but failed at it so spectacularly. Like, it just, I don't know how else to say that.
It's a directorial thing. Like, if you just wrote all of the main events of this episode down on paper, and it was directed by someone else, it would probably be incredible.
Yeah.
It was like just the tension and the strange pacing, and like even that, like the little moments, like, oh, we got somebody here and somebody here and somebody here. I felt like that even it kind of took up a lot of time.
Well, it could have been, and to your point, Brandon, it could have been, if they had done that differently, it could have easily been one of those things where we see what is the movie? Like Ocean's 13.
Steven Soderbergh. I was about to say Steven Soderbergh. Yeah, Steven Soderbergh did it the best way.
Ocean's 13. Not Ocean's 13. Was it Ocean's 13?
Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 12. So in Ocean's 12, Ocean's 11, yes. But in Ocean's 12, when we see, actually Ocean's 11 too, where we see scenes where they describe, here's what we're going to do, and you see it partly play out, but then you realize afterwards that the events you saw already happened actually way before the narration that we saw. If they had done that, to your point, Brandon, if they had placed these people and done certain things, and also like, oh my god, bad things are going to happen. Oh no, we already did that already. That's already taken care of. Oops, surprise, bad guys, we got you. That probably would have been very interesting to watch. Because like, oh snap, cool. They're really good at this. It was literally the exact opposite. They're like, oh, we're going to do all the things we said after we said them, but the bad guys have already been planning this for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, again, this is where I started. I actually wrote down Ocean's 11 did this better. And the reason why is because when Ocean's 11's doing it, it's showing you, because if you're going to show, like, here's the setup, here's where all the players are. The only reason why you do that is because you're going to telegraph, and then this is how it all falls apart.
Right.
And the best way to do that is show it falling apart. Show it falling apart while you're going through that narrative. And when it does all fall apart, I mean, I was like, of course it's going to fall apart, you know? Yeah. And then I thought, okay, well, at least they'll be sacrificed, because people got, that's how this works. And the only major sacrifice when it's all falling apart are the Gamorrean guards. And I thought, what happened? Like, they were just like, we don't want to have these guys on set anymore. Get them out of here. And
they didn't even really die fighting. They kind of just got like walked off of a cliff.
Basically, yes.
Right? Like,
I liked them. I was kind of sad about
that. Those were the characters that I wanted. They could have killed all the mods who themselves got into a kill zone. They got against a wall in an alley. And I thought, oh, hey guys, like, I don't know if you've watched any gangster movies, but that's a kill box. The Gamorrean guards are in the open. Go back and watch that fight scene again. It is the worst choreographed fight scene I've ever seen.
It was
like
terrible.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like Neil Breen bad, but it's like at one point they're just kind of like poking at them.
They're just poking sticks. They just poke them with sticks
fall off.
They did the guards so dirty. Like, because especially in the beginning, we come out of the original series thinking Gamorrean guards are kind of like crappy anything, because we see the League take them down like they're not even, they're just clay puppets on the, standing up in a front room. But in the very beginning, we're like, so there was a couple scenes in one of the episodes where like, oh snap, the Gamorrean guards are kind of badass. You know what? Right on, I'm down for this. And then some guys, like 4 guys with pokey sticks, push them off a cliff, and that was, I'm like, what? That's
He's got poked.
you
Yeah,
didn't
he got
like
poked
you
off
didn't
his
even
cliff.
swing the huge axe blade thing you're carrying. Like it's almost like anime looking. Like you could have swung the thing, and the guy just went,
Yeah,
and then he fell
it
over.
was
I'm like,
strange.
Okay, sorry, I
It's
guess.
like if that idea somebody wrote down, oh, Gamorrean guards have a big standoff against the pikes at the edge of a cliff. Sounds really cool.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I genuinely really love all of the concepts and plot points of the episode. It just was directed badly.
Yes, it was a problem of execution.
Mhm.
But I will say that there were like moments in the script where I even thought like, is that the best line read for that? Like at one point, Boba says to the Mandalorian, he says, "Can you distract them for a little while?" And Din Djarin says, "I can distract them for a spell." And I thought that's a really weird thing, like a weird line. I can
Strange.
distract him for a spell. And I remember thinking like there were a lot of really weird lines like that. I will say that because it's like a 47-minute episode, this is like my notes on the first 20 minutes are almost all the same. I'm like kind of bummed out. And then I turn the page and then suddenly all this great stuff happens and I'm like, "Oh, I'm here for this. This is where
Yes.
this episode starts taking off." It's funny because
Same thing
there's
for me.
definitely a point where someone's like, "Hey," like so maybe someone's the editor or someone, they're like, "Yo, did you know that the first 2/3 of this isn't going well? We gotta like get this going." And I feel like where the turnaround is it starts getting good, and not good. I don't mean that it was bad, but I just mean like I stopped having issues when Freetown arrived. They all start shooting, and then some type of successor of droid Dakars show up.
Yeah, the droid
and I was
Dakars,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, good, welcome back, Terminator."
Right.
And yeah, like I was on board for a lot of
was
that.
real, yeah. And when that happened, when they pop up their ray shields, I was well. First off, when Mando has got his visor on, he goes, everyone's like, "Woo!" And then he puts his
Yeah.
in through his visor. He's like, click. He goes, "I think we got some issues." My wife could tell you, I was sitting there going, "I think that's a droid car." I'm like, "How many are they gonna
Yep.
have?" And then the big ass thing shows up. I'm like, "Oh, that thing's ray shielded." I'm like, "Okay, is somebody just gonna grab a box and lay on the ground and put the box over them, so when the ray shield comes over, they can just stand up and attack the droid car from inside?" Because that's what Anakin and Ahsoka did in the Clone Wars. Nobody did
Yep.
it though. They kept hitting it. And
Yeah,
even-
I will say
even Din
I was
with
getting
the dark saber.
Yeah. There's so
Okay,
I
sorry, get ahead of
understand,
myself.
and I think it was a smart decision to have all of the random people just shooting at it, kind of like, they're not thinking because they don't know any better. But the one character who confused me is Boba Fett because he was around during the Clone Wars,
Yes.
and I feel like there's no way he could have missed the knowledge about how to deal with those.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
was
they
right
kind
there
of
with
made
you.
him dumber, but not all the time. Like sometimes he's great and he's super badass and super cool, but just in certain little moments, like it's specifically in the Robert Rodriguez episodes where he's like, "I can't have this be too easy. Can you just make him stupid for like 2 seconds, really quick? Like just make him kind of stupid right now."
Yeah,
'Cause he should've known how to
I
do
I feel like you're absolutely right. I feel like when Boba Fett's natural history got in the way of the plot, like when Boba Fett is like, "Oh, well, Boba would know this. He would know this."
He totally would. He would totally know
Um,
that.
Yes.
And it's like that's what makes him such a dangerous bounty hunter, right? Like that's
Mhm.
what makes him so dangerous. Period. Is that he would have this history.
Yes.
And the thing that was killing me was I felt like they would make him like memory erase amnesia when it got in the way of the plot. And I will say that I felt that even though I liked that sequence, I felt that it went on a little too long. I was glad
Mhm.
that they spent some time developing some of the other characters around, like Weequay and everybody else
Mhm.
that's like there. I liked a lot of the sudden talking of characters that didn't really get a lot of good chances, even though I did feel like some of the mods were giving some of the worst line reads. I would have been like, again, you're going to die. You got to be this is not a time to be monotone. You are near death. It's Saving Private Ryan time. And that's in fact the thing I kept thinking of was the bridge fight with Saving Private Ryan is they keep pulling back from the tanks. They keep pulling back, even though I was like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to see some Star Trek, sorry, Rich, so Star Wars version of a sticky bomb or something. Like, we're going to see them outsmart these things. And and in some cases they were working on it. In some cases it kind of went in other ways. But I did like that sequence, and I just wish like Boba should be like, oh, I'm gonna take these thermal detonators and I'm gonna put them on the ground, and then you're gonna run this way, and then they're gonna go over that, and they're gonna explode, and that's how we're gonna defeat these things.
Yeah, go ahead, Ren.
Which is how they defeat those things in the Clone Wars, like 100 times.
Yeah.
So it was a little weird, but I understand, I think, why they did it, and it's just because of they wanted to create that set piece for the Rancor.
Yeah. I mean,
if they defeated him easily, then what was the Rancor going to do?
Yeah, it kind of destroyed the whole reason for having the Rancor even show up in that one episode at all. But
yeah, although I will say that was Chekhov's Rancor. It's like, and that's not a Star Trek reference, literary. I mean that as like, there were two things that I kept thinking were going to show up: the Rancor, and then I also thought Tusken Raiders were going to show up. But
I did. I really thought they were going to.
Yep. No. I would have preferred that, to be honest. Like, the Rancor thing was cool, but I would have preferred some Tusken Raiders to show up, because there isn't just the one tribe of Tusken Raiders, and that's it. They're like pockets of people all over the planet. So like, those clearly were not the only ones who lived in that area. That's not how that that's not how that works. I will say that I love, by itself, taking these other pieces out by itself, him bringing the Rancor, I really did love. And the reason I did,
me too.
I mean, yes. I mean, objectively, it was awesome. But specifically, I loved it because there have been hints in other shows and other writings about the Night Sisters of Dathomir, Dathomir is where Rancors are actually natively from. That the Night Sisters would actually ride Rancors. They're actually a very docile. We learned that from Danny Trejo in the one episode, but. The Night Sisters would ride them around the fens of Dathomir in the swamps and things like that. So to see that happen, and then also for anyone who watched The Bad Batch, there's an episode where they have to save a baby Rancor from the Zygerians, and you see the baby Rancor very spry, bounces around. It's not small, but it's also like it bounces around a lot, does all these things. So to see that in a larger Rancor, like. See that happen, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. These aren't just slow, dim-witted characters like we saw in Jabba's palace and back in the day. It's more. They're more than that. They're a real creature. They're pretty docile, but they can also be intense as well. So to see that was really, really cool to watch. But to both your points, they did a lot of in the directorial choices. They did a lot of things forcefully to be able to bring the Rancor on screen, and that I did not care for, because it just. Like, you need to stop. Like, if it's not in the story, if it's not going to be a natural thing to bring it in, then you don't bring it in. But that's not what they chose to do. They chose to say, no, we're going to do this other stuff. We're going to do the other thing and force things because, well, we already paid for the Rancor. Might as well use the Rancor. It's like, no. Like, if it doesn't make sense, then don't do it.
Yeah, and again, it's just a directorial thing. Somebody else could have probably handled the same series of events, but just made the characters a little smarter.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a couple
and it would have
lines
made perfect sense. But it was just cool, just to see it. If you're thinking of it as an action set piece, like, hell yeah, Boba Fett riding a Rancor on Tatooine.
Who doesn't want to see that?
Sick. Yeah, like, it was a blast to watch it. It was awesome.
No, I loved it. I loved the callback to like the writing of the mythosaur, and I thought that was really great. I don't know if anybody else had this, and in fact, I should probably put this behind me, but I have the Star Wars themed Xbox 360 that came out, and it came with a game. I think it was Star Wars Kinetic. It was like using that sensor that the Xbox had.
Yeah.
And the very first level is you are a Rancor walking around Mos Espa, and you're destroying things. I right when I saw that sequence, I wrote Xbox, and the thing that I thought was really funny was I thought, oh wow, this is a really great callback. Like even the way that the buildings are all kind of crumbling down, I thought, oh wow, this is great. I'm noticing my video is just like so choppy tonight, so I apologize. Right, my arm was like right there mid pause.
There's special effects, everybody. These are special effects for the show.
It's special effects, yeah, exactly. I will say that I heard you all talk about King Kong before, right as I was coming to the pre-show, so I'm eager to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But I would also like to say that there was a part of me that also remembered another movie, which was Man of Steel. And that was because at the start of this, Boba Fett's like, I love this city. I love this city. I love the city. I need to be here for my city. And then he effectively destroys the city. and he's like, and then everybody's thanking him like, hey, thanks for destroying this whole city. And they're like, we're really glad that the spice trade, I guess, is gone, and that some of the crime is gone. But yeah. That was. But I'd love to hear you guys talk about the King Kong.
That, I guess, at the end. But yeah. They throw in a couple little lines of dialogue once we get to the end that I guess kind of. But you're right, Ryan. Yeah, he's like just destroys everything, and he's like, "You're welcome."
Yeah.
Thank you for my fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are grateful for it, I suppose.
Yeah, the
King Kong moment's the only Rancor moment where I kind of like rolled my eyes. I
100% did. I actually, my wife and I were watching it. I remember looking over and saying, "I swear to God," we paused the video at that point. I'm like, okay. I like stopped and I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, if some planes or some spaceships or some fighters show up and start circling it, we are turning this TV off. I'm like,
I just needed him to pick up the mod girl and carry her up there. And...
Yeah. Oh my gosh. 100%. Where was that?
I can't do this. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, thankfully that did not happen, but still, so the scene at the end when like he, it's all done. You've destroyed the city, and everyone's like picking up. Like you said, it's not just destroy the city. For everyone who hasn't seen it yet, I apologize for the spoilers. But as they're walking down the street, rubble is on the ground, so people are like picking up their shop stalls. They're picking up broken things, and then looking at him. And as he walks away, then they're all bowing. It's like, and so,
they're all,
and his I forget his exact wording, but his words were like he bows, but every time he bows and puts his right hand against his chest, he hurts. He like aches. And when he does it, he says to Finnick, "Why does it have to be the right hand?" I'm like, you're bitching about this? You literally destroyed their town, and you're just a little upset because your right hand hurts when you bow at the people who are bowing to you. I'm like, dude, you need to just stow that stuff for a little bit, all right? All right, brother?
Just chill out a little bit, Bo.
You're up about it here, Chief? Let's bring it to, like, right here.
He throws in like the one line. Oh, sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
Oh no! Please! I want to hear.
He throws in the one line. I can't remember it like verbatim, but he essentially looks at Fennec and he's like, "I don't know if we're the right people for this job. Like, why us?" And kind of, I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. You like kind of destroyed the town." But at least some part of him, he's like, "Okay, so like maybe I didn't do the best job."
Right.
Like he at least acknowledges it in canon in the show that he did destroy the town. So I was cool with that line at least.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it also almost felt like it was a way to set up, it also almost felt like it was a way to set up the post-credit scene. Just so they could find a way to bring the post-credit scene in. I'm happy about we'll get to that. Ryan, I know you had something to chime in. Like,
we skipped over a lot too.
Yeah, but like in that post-credit scene, we can get to that in a few minutes, but like to see the person who was in the post-credit scene, I felt like that line was like, yeah, I mean, cool. I'm happy that character is there, but I don't know. It felt strange. Sorry, Ryan. You were trying to chime in.
No. I was going to say that I felt like there was that line that Brandon was talking about at the end, though, I don't know for the right people for this. I also liked that because I felt you need a character like Boba Fett to say, am I a respectable dude? Like, are we respectable people? And I liked that. And then oddly, like, they're all friends, like at the end. And this is where it's like, I kept thinking, like, if you're going to go Godfather, you got to go Godfather, or you got to go Goodfellas, or whatever gangster movie you're going to do, you got to do it all the way. And when they did that at the end, where they're like, oh yeah, hey, here's a melon for the Wookiee, like I just thought, no, he's consolidating an empire there. Like, he can't be a freedom fighter, because that's not his bag. Like, he's got to be something else. And all I kept thinking is, if you're going to be like the new Don Corleone, and everyone's bowing to you because that's why they're doing it, they're kind of afraid. They're trying to say, oh, they're thankful, but at the same time, it's like, that's the guy that brought the Rancor here, so we gotta watch
the dude
back.
rides a Rancor, so let's just let him be.
yeah
Give him some fruit, man. Just give him some fruit.
No, exactly. Give him fruit. Get him away. I remember thinking that what was playing in the background, if you listen to the music, and by the way, Rich brought up sound effects. I loved almost all the sound effects. I loved the blaster sound effect. I loved his the Boba Fett blaster sound effect. I loved all of these things. There were all these like little things that I absolutely loved. The what sounds like when you take a spring or a slinky and you kind of like wave it about, that sound of when it's hitting the bubble of the ray shield. I loved all of that. But the thing that while they're walking and he's saying, I don't know if I'm the right man for this, it is almost the Godfather theme played on like classical Mexican guitar. And I was like, oh wow, like this is a weird combination. But then I thought, that's Robert Rodriguez. He's like trying to blend too many things together. It was almost like at the end of that episode, I remember thinking, oh, you had too many ideas. Like you couldn't say no to them. You were like, yeah, and then like the mods are here, and then let's have the Trandoshians biting, the Wookiee, and I'm blanking on right now, not on his name, but the pronunciation, and it's like there's too many things happening that are all like maybe a fewer ideas, and definitely one where I think we should get to the stuff that we absolutely loved, and I feel like it's the actual secret protagonist of this series, who's for a short time the sidekick in this episode, but everything that had to deal with the Mandalorian, I liked. I don't know if there was a scene that every scene that he was in, I loved it.
Mm-hmm. He was great the whole way through. Even though, like, if I had to pick, like, what are the worst 10 minutes of the whole episode, it's definitely when they're in the ruins of the bar. Mm-hmm. It's just the whole thing feels, but his dialogue is good, and his stuff is good. And even after all this stuff that's happened to him, he's still like, no, I follow my creed. This is what I believe. This is who I am. This is the way. And I was like, hell yeah. He is not shaken by what happened to him. That's awesome. That's cool development. And this is before he even knows, like, Grogu has come back for him, like he's gone through all this stuff. He just walked away from Grogu again. And still he's standing there like with Boba, and he's like, no, I'm a man of honor. Like, this is who I am, and I'm doing what I said I'm going to do because that's who I am. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was just...
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I like that they reinforced what you just described, Brendan, through his dialogue. Or maybe Pedro Pascal decided, hey, listen, no, I need to stick, holding my guns here, because his dialogue, he keeps it short and sweet. He does, and in times when you almost want him to say something, he does not say anything at all. He does bring back the statement of like, this is the way. Like when Boba finally does challenge him, like, you should go, and he's like, this is the way. And you're right. I love that because it reinforces his character is exactly what we've learned his character is. He didn't change his character in this. Mm-hmm. He is still the same person, which is really awesome. And it's a good staple. It's a really good staple throughout it. I will say this is a bit of a dig, but it's also, I really love that Fennec Shand has been with him this whole time and sticks with it, because I will say though they didn't use her as well as they could have. I thought she challenges him and like gives Boba advice and things, but then very quickly sort of like bows away when he says, no, I'm still going to do this. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. And almost gets a little meek. And I really didn't like that, because it made it feel like it kind of diminished her character to a degree. But
Yeah.
I don't mean to like get back onto the sort of like our criticisms, but I do really love that her character was part of this series and was there
Mhm.
with Boba, and it's not just Boba Fett; it's somebody else there with him too to kind of challenge him and keep him in kind of keep in line, make him rethink situations, not just rethinking them
Mhm.
for the sake of it. I thought that was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
she
feel the
actually gets
same way
one
about.
pretty awesome scene at least. Sorry,
I was about
Ryan.
to
Go ahead.
say no. I was about to say exactly that. In fact, go for it because that was exactly the scene that I was thinking. I'm sure we're gonna say the same thing.
I think we probably are. We get finally the one scene where she's super cool and does her business in the I don't know what to call it, the den with where the mayor and
Yep.
um the Pike leader or captain or whatever you want to call him is.
Yep.
They all just start dying left and right in there. And that actually really well done action because
Mm.
it was kind of tense. Like for a minute, they were like, oh yeah, this is how we can make a scene kind of cool. And while I was watching it, I was like, what's happening right now? This is crazy. Um, that was a great scene
Yeah.
for her, and that's what Fennec Shand is. Like the
Yes.
whole time, that's what she is. This is a
Yeah.
master assassin, and we finally got to
She's a
actually see
mortal
her be a
threat.
master assassin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
which
completely
one is
agree with
more?
you. Like no, and
Hmm.
that's exactly the same scene I was thinking of. Like you, I feel like they didn't give her enough time. They didn't give her time to shine.
Right.
Hmm.
They almost made her a Legolas like character, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna give her like a couple of cool moments, but then otherwise we're really not gonna provide any character development. And it's like this is actually a really cool character. The original her original appearance, which I think is the gunslinger in the first season of The Mandalorian, she's like a real risk. And then when she pops back up in season 2, she's like, she's still got that edge. You know, she's still like, oh, I can't go into there. Like they'll recognize my face, and
Hmm.
she poses like a real threat. And then she's got this cool character design. Like I love that helmet. I
Hmm.
think that's so awesome. But then I feel like they didn't know what to do. I feel like this. And we've talked about this in the past, which really great movies require choices, require people to make choices. And when you don't make those choices and you kind of just wait till you're on the set or you try to catch them in editing, it's a mishmash. And that's what I think has happened here. It's like there wasn't good choices. They didn't want to make choices for Fennec, so they kept her the same. She starts the series and ends the series the same way. They didn't know really what to do with Boba, and so they kind of didn't make a lot of choices. Like he's like the Mandalorian, and it's like, no, we already have a character like that. You can make him the Mandalorian's opposite number.
Hmm.
You can make him a different type of anti-hero. You can make him despicable. You can make him the bad guy. You can say, hey, like I want the easy life. I'm not going out on bounties anymore. I'm gonna set up my own thing. And then you have like a great payoff at the end where it seems like everybody is going to be killing him when really that's been his plan all along. Because that's the secret of a great gangster movie, is that the main gangster who wins, whether it's Don Corleone or Michael Corleone or um, anyone, like I keep going, like, things in Casino. It's that the main character isn't stronger, they're smarter, they're patient.
Hmm.
And I feel like they kind of lop that with they're skilled and calm, and that's what Boba Fett is. He's like, I'm skilled and I'm calm, in all things. But I feel like we're skipping around, and I don't want to make this because it's easy to pile on. I'd love to talk
It is
about what
easy.
everybody. I'd love to talk about the things that people loved, and what are your guys' thoughts on the Cad Bane appearance? When he calls him out in the beginning, and then at the end.
Whew. Those are some of the love moments for me, at least.
Yeah.
I think Cad Bane is terrifying in live action, in the
Yes.
best way. His voice, the way that they designed him to be really similar to the animated version, but like clearly a little more set in reality. but also logical because he's older. He's like I don't know how to say it, but he's the source of tension in a lot of the episode. Is just like he barely says anything, but you're just like, oh god, he's about to kill somebody right now for sure. Like he just you get that feeling from him.
I would have loved to see him in more places through a couple of episodes, and in smaller places, like walk into like he came and gave a warning, and then Boba and Finnick walk into one of the bars or walk in some building, and Cad Bane's just kind of sitting in the corner, like just hanging out, man, just here hanging out. So that kind of like a subtle reminder that he's always there. He is there. He is.
I would have liked that.
He didn't just walk off set and like disappear, and he's going to come back later to threaten you again. Like he's around town. He's keeping an eye on things. He maybe is causing some mischief. You don't know, but you're now having to think about that constantly. So, but I'm with you that seen him live action, and oh my god, they got the voice. They just nailed it. I had to go back and watch a couple episodes of the Clone Wars to remind myself. I'm like, they nailed that voice, and it is a passive aggressive but more aggressive sound, and it just is. It was fantastic. Like I loved his placement in the show. I really, really did.
Yeah, me too. He was used very well. I'm sad we probably aren't getting more of him in live action.
Yeah.
But he was used super well. And I also like his use in the sense that he's the only person in the series really to challenge who Boba Fett is and be like, what are you trying to be? I know what you are.
Yes.
And that's the best thing that they used him for, I think, is like, because it's a really common criticism of the show, and especially like on the internet, of course. But Boba Fett's kind of soft now. He's old and he's not as vicious and brutal as before. But Cad Bane is the one character who, in universe, is like, "Why are you acting like this, dude? This isn't who you are. You're a murderer. You're a monster." And it's cool to see that like somebody in the universe of the show recognizes that he's changed, especially somebody who is also a monster.
Yes. But at least he's comfortable with it. Somebody who's at least okay with like,
he's definitely comfortable.
He's totally comfortable with it.
Yeah.
No, I loved him being in the show, and I was trying to think of one of the things I loved most about not just the episode, but the series overall. And I will say that for all its ups and downs, directorial choices aside, something I loved about this one, I know we talked about this about the show early on when we were first reviewing the early episodes, is I love getting to see who Boba Fett actually is. Because we saw him in the Clone Wars, we saw him a little bit before that, but as the three of us have talked about this over and over again, we didn't know much about who he actually was coming into this, and more importantly, we didn't know how he had changed after the Sarlacc pit. I mean, we get to see that, but I think one thing they missed is, and they really would have helped, I think, most audiences watching this, was to give a better idea of how much time he spent in the Sarlacc pit, and then how much time he lived with the Tuskens. I was watching some TikTok creator about this, and they were like, if we go by some ancillary numbers about publication times and whatever else, it was something to the effect of being in the Sarlacc pit for like 3 years, some like multiple years, and then living with the Tuskens for about 5 years. And that's not portrayed very well in the show, like that time period. I mean, you have to kind of really hard assume that that's the case, because he learns so much about their lifestyle and all that like that's not going to happen in 2 weeks. We didn't just get a montage and 2 weeks later he's like, full Tusken, buddy, you're good, But so he actually did live with them for, I mean, I think it's roughly like 5 years, I think is what we learned. I like that, because the calm, as Cad Bane said, like, this isn't who you are, that sort of comment he makes. It's like, that's not who he was, for sure. But a lot has changed since the last time you saw him. The dude basically slept for 3 years instead of a Sarlacc's belly being digested. Like that's gonna change a person physically and mentally.
It screws you up.
Yeah, it kind of does. So I really like that we get to see Boba Fett. I mean, all other things aside, we get to see who Boba Fett is now, and I would love to see what they do with his character next. I hope it's not try to recreate this and stay in Mos Espa. I actually hope it's him and Finnick decide that they need to leave and maybe go do something else, or stay on the planet and just do some other activities. Maybe not be bounty hunters, but do something a little different. But I don't know. Cool. I really, really enjoyed getting to learn who Boba Fett actually is now.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it a lot. I agree, though, that I think I think the showrunners could have done a better job of portraying that stuff. On occasion, as much as we're very into Star Wars, and a lot of the fan base is, on occasion, it is okay to cater to the casual audience just a little bit.
Yes.
Like just a little bit, and give some exposition to some stuff. Like it helps people. Because like us, not everybody's gonna do research and look into the books and look into the comics, and it's like the public reception of the show could be worse because of that. That's what I assumed too. I was like, oh, it's definitely been years. Like, this is a really deep culture. There's no way they were just like, you're pretty cool. you're in. But
they also didn't have like an ability to show passage of time through visible symbols, like the length, like the growing of hair, if that makes sense. Like that when you see what is it, the Wolverine movie, like oh well, he's been out in the woods for a long time. He's got this big hair, he's got this big beard, like he's been out there for a long time. And that's kind of like a thing that you want to try to visually tell your story. And I feel like if you can't, then you got to like work it into the script. Just have him say like a line and be like, whoa, it's been 8 years. It's like just have him say something. And that's also okay too, because you can then have that actor act against that moment, like finding out like, yeah, man, you Rip Van Winkled yourself out there. Like that's okay. But I feel I know we're like over time, and we haven't talked. I don't think we've talked at all about our my favorite character was in this. My favorite Star Wars character was in this, R2-D2, and he was there delivering a character that I loved how he arrived, and I loved how he left. So I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts about that.
Many.
I sure do.
Yes, many.
I loved it too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon. You take it.
No, his little head popping up out of the X-wing, and he's like, "Hey,
love it. Love it.
What up?"
Yeah, I was like, "Yes, this is amazing! Look at Grogu flying an X-wing." Like, I know it was R2 pilot, whatever, but it's so cute.
Amy Sedaris even says that too. Oh my gosh, you flew all the... I didn't know they taught you that. Beep, beep, beep. I know he didn't fly it. An astromech fluid. Just knock it off.
But damn it, he was in the pilot's seat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, oh god, the scene at the end when he leaves and he's knocking on the window, and Din is like,
I got it for you.
Oh yeah,
there we go. It was so cute, and it was also so much like, oh, look at him being a dad. He's happy.
Mm-hmm.
He's happy.
Yeah,
that
is what I felt.
No, fine. I'm like,
yeah, it was cool.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I
loved that.
Yeah, the him showing up, having the chainmail on, I thought was very apropos, and I'm really glad that happened. For a couple of reasons. One, because I'm glad that Grogu's back with Mandalorian. That just feels so natural. That feels like what that should be. That, he was training to be a Jedi. Grogu, as we now know, saw Order 66 happen. Like, all of that played out for him. To think that he could just be... He's not actually a child. Like, yes, but also no. And Luke... trying to train him, and from Luke's perspective, he's a child because he looks like it and all this type of stuff, knowing that he ages slowly, but he still treated him like he was a little child. And even after helping him see his memories, Luke still didn't really understand that this kid has seen some shit. Like, he's old. The kid is older than you, Luke, by double your age at least. He has seen some ish, and you can't just work past that. Like, that's not a thing you can. There's other stuff, because if it was actually an adult or a 20-something, you could have a conversation with this person and figure that out, therapy and all these types of things. But it's still a child, and it doesn't understand how to deal with these conflicts. And not only that, are you trying to train him to just be a Jedi? And he already kind of started that process. But then you gave him an ultimatum. What kid is going to do that? Any kid's going to go to the thing they know and they love, and that is a safe space for them, which is going back to Den. So I'm really glad that they did that. And again, I think it also like really leads into who Luke is going to become later on. And I mean that with all possible love. Like what we see in The Last Jedi, this was the beginning part of that. We can insinuate for
Yes.
Luke that losing this first student is going to have an impact on how he approaches the next student, likely to be a little more cautious and a little more not really sure how he's going to do it and try it. And it's going to cause more missteps from real quick. But I love that because it links Luke in The Last Jedi to Luke here. And I think that is absolutely necessary. And yeah, seeing the two of them get connected back again, seeing him wear the chainmail, they didn't have to spend much more time on it. I think that was enough time. We saw it, we know it.
Yeah, but it was well done.
Well.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, though. I thought it was great, and that whole scene where Luke makes him make the choice, it really is that's a scene about Luke. It's not really a scene about Grogu. But
yeah, 100%.
I would have been disappointed and kind of mad about it if Grogu was like, "I'm gonna be a Jedi," because it just wouldn't. Like you're saying, it wouldn't have made sense. It wouldn't have been satisfying. It would have been like, well, okay, why hasn't anybody heard about him in any of the sequels? And it just wouldn't. It wouldn't make sense for any of the characters involved in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it was a great way to kind of solve this from a plot perspective. I also remember watching that scene with Luke and thinking, I thought only Sith deal in absolutes. But the other thing that I remember thinking was, he has to choose the Mandalorian. Like that, of course he's gonna choose where he feels safe. And I thought it was I really like how you said that, Brandon, that it reflected more on Luke. And I even thought of Luke when he said, I just don't know if his heart is in it. I don't know if I'm teaching him or I'm just helping him to remember. I also liked that as a reason for why Grogu has a lot of like natural force abilities. And it's not just because it's natural, it's because he's remembering. The way that I felt like, to borrow a line from Carl Weathers, they might have overdid it on the magic hand stuff. But I did like how he, at the end, he kind of puts the Rancor to sleep and then himself goes to sleep. I thought that was great. I thought that was really great. I feel like all of the uses of three characters that I really, really like, the Mandalorian, Grogu, and Amy Sedaris. I'm already a big Amy Sedaris fan. So like, Strangers with Candy, great. Like, let's keep seeing that. But yeah, like I feel like all of that only made me want to see Grogu and the Mandalorian more, especially as the Mandalorian goes off now, and Rich is gonna like this, has his Worf from Star Trek Next Generation storyline where he has to go and reclaim his honor. So I'm really excited about season. It's funny. And this kind of maybe will transition us into because I know we're getting over time here, into the maybe the final letter grade for this episode, and maybe the overall grade for the series. But I feel like the best thing that this series did was, I am so excited for Mandalorian season 3.
Yes,
like that is, congratulations, Boba Fett. I am super excited about Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah,
me too.
Yes.
Definitely.
Should we do letter grades?
Yeah, go for it.
So episode and series overall, or season overall?
Series overall.
Brandon, why don't you go first?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot.
Heck yeah.
Okay, I'll give the. This is a hard one. I want to give the episode either like a B plus, maybe A minus, because again, I love the things that happened. I just don't like the way they did. Like, I just don't like the way they were directed. But the things and the events, very, very cool. So I'll give the episode, let's say B plus. The series, I will give probably an A. Like, just the episodes 5 and 6 were so good.
Yes.
I know they didn't have a lot to do with Boba Fett, but I honestly don't care. They were so good. They just were. And the other stuff was good too. The only episode I genuinely was like, I'm not into this, is episode 3. So I'll give the I'll give the series as a whole an A.
Ryan, why don't you go next, dude?
I wanna preface this with I love Star Wars. Like I love the regardless of how I think about even the problems that I had in this episode, like I love Star Wars. Like, oh, is this Star Wars content? Great. I talked about this in the last episode. A thing that I really that I saw, which I like, is when someone said, "Oh, I'm going to be watching Star Wars tonight," and he meant Book of Boba Fett, and that's exactly how I feel. Like I'm like, "Oh, great, I get to watch Star Wars." So I'm okay with stories having problems, and I'm okay with I'll give it a lot of grace. I feel like I'm gonna do a split here. I'm gonna say, because oh man, a thing that I usually look at to like if how much I like something is how much am I gonna rewatch this. And a really good example of like The Mandalorian season 1, I've watched the episode The Prisoner like maybe 100 times. That is a perfect episode of television. Like I love that end to end. And it's like shot on like a super simple set. It's so great. So I would give this episode like a B minus. Like this episode to me is like it's teetering on it's like what Brandon said. It's got so many great pieces. It's like if someone told me about this episode without watching it, I'd be like, "Dang, this is awesome. This is an amazing episode." Yeah. If someone relayed the story to me, I think I'd like it more. And then Grogu shows up and he like puts the Rancor to sleep. I'd be like, damn.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then for like an overall letter grade for the series, I feel like I would give it a really high grade if I incorporate episodes 5 and 6. But I'm gonna actually say that's Mandalorian season 2.5. Because those were such a departure from the rest of the show, right. like so much of a departure. I'm gonna give this series a C, and the reason why is I like it. It's passable as Star Wars. I like Solo. I like Star Wars, but I feel like it could have been better, and I almost want to say it's a C because I hope it becomes a B, or I hope it becomes an A. Yeah. Like I hope they grow this. It's okay to start out terrible. First season of Star Trek Next Generation is bad. Last reference. But it grew to it. It grew to it until you got to the last episode, All Good Things, and it was amazing. So I'm just saying, sometimes you got to give a show the time to grow the beard, and hope that it doesn't jump the shark.
See, so it wasn't the last Star Trek reference, but then you had Star Trek, and then you had Happy Days, so it's all good. I'm very much along with both of you. I would give this episode probably a B plus, because of what you said. What the combination of what both of you said, that there is so much good story, character, visual effects and things that happen in the episode that I really enjoyed watching the episode. And when I watched it with my wife last night, when we got done, I remember, because as much as I am a huge Star Wars geek, I also tend to like analyze on the spot. I'm still practicing like, hey, just watch and enjoy, and then come back later and watch it again. But I remember like 2/3 of the way through the episode thinking to myself, like, this is great. Like I am like, this is to give me all the culmination of all the things I wanted in one episode. At the end of it, I was like, I would have liked to see it played out differently, like we talked about here. But no, watching the episode, I was like, no, this is rad. I'm enjoying this. There were just a couple things that took away from me a little bit, that didn't make it quite an A, but no, B plus for the series overall. I'm very much in line with you, Ryan. Like I am very much going to a C, or like in that range. And I think that's what you said. But it is great Star Wars. I thoroughly enjoyed the Star Wars of it. Like I love all of it. It's fantastic. And maybe I should change this to maybe just like a B for the series, because the problems with it, Brandon, you said this earlier, the problems with it were directorial choices. And I don't think it's the story or the characters and any of that. If it's a slightly different director, had been given the other episodes, I think this season would have just been blown out of the water. Like, it would have just been absolutely stellar and completely amazing. All the components were there. They just weren't put together quite right to make it like this just stellar season. And I'm with you. Like, it just 5 and 6 made me excited about the next step for the Mandalorian. It really did.
Mhm.
And I mean, honestly, I'm excited for the next step of Boba. Like, they left it in a way that there's more for Boba Fett. There absolutely is. And I'm very curious to see what they do with him, because I like what we're getting in Star Wars right now. I really love that we are getting so many other stories that are not just the space wizards. I mean, I love Jedi. I love everything about the Jedi, but so much not just the space wizards stuff. It's all of the other people. It's all of the other people dealing with living in a galaxy through all of this turmoil. I absolutely love that all the live action we're getting right now is all of that, and that what we're getting in the printed books and comic books and things is the High Republic. Is all the new stories that are really pushing boundaries for what are we going to be doing with Star Wars in the future. I love this dichotomy between them. I really do, because we're getting to explore all these people and these things and places that we've always thought about. Either new people who are just coming into it, or all of us who have been geeks about this forever. We're getting that in these live action shows. It's awesome. While they then set up the stage for all the other cool stuff that could be done, but in comic books and books, where you can use your imagination to come up with all kinds of rad stuff before they start making an animated series or a movie or whatever their future plans happen to be from the results of Project Luminous. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that they're using these as two different tools and mechanisms for storytelling that will really lead into a future of more storytelling that's going to be very interesting.
I agree with you. I think it's cool that we get just a bigger variety of stories. Like, nobody loses here.
Right.
It wasn't a 10 out of 10, 100% show, but like, it was still a win. Like, we got this cool collection of stories that have almost nothing to do with the Jedi. So
exactly,
win for us.
Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And as far as rewatchability, I mean, oh my gosh, like episodes 5 and 6, episode 5, that fight scene that takes place at the start of that episode, I mean, that is like, that's not just great Star Wars. That's great. That episode 5 is a great piece of like how you make solid television.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and an hour of TV.
And it brings mask acting to a new level, because I'm telling you, when he's on that ship alone, and Mando is on that ship alone, and you just see depression, and I was like, man, that guy is wearing a mask. It's like those times when I watch C-3PO and I'm like, C-3PO seems to have a ticked off look on him right now. Like, how is that possible? He can't emote. He doesn't have any expressions. Like when Han Solo's like, yeah, we got to change out the other thing, and 3PO looks back like, what are you, I was just telling you that. And of course we're going to need to change that out. I love that I feel like the entire series can be redeemed by episodes 5 and 6, but yeah, I'm hopeful that this can actually help tell some new stories. And and again, we didn't talk about that cliffhanger with Bullock at the end. I did write, Jeff, just for you on my notes, I wrote Bullock. Awesome. He's there. But yeah, I'm excited to see where that storyline's going to go. Yep. So
me too. I like that character a lot. So
I love that character. Well acted.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
that actor brings a lot to that role. There's a little bit of Bullock. There's a little bit of Raylan from Justified in that.
Like I said,
so yeah,
like the last time we did the show, and I said he's like Seth Bullock if he was just a little stoned. He's just he's like Bullock, but he's like,
that's great.
But it's all good, man. And Seth Bullock in Deadwood was not that way, but if he was that way for a little bit, that's who we got, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like, I think it was episode 5 or 6. It was 5. When he confronts the Pikes about the spice.
Oh,
wonderful scene.
Such a good scene.
Like, give me a series of that, of him doing that.
Yeah, I love
around
like
his town.
So you're I love great. That takes care of business, and then like, so I see you're the smart one. Like that. Yeah. Oh man, that is just like so spaghetti western. It was just
he was
awesome.
Great.
Just fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, shall we wrap it up? This has been we're buttoning up the Book of Boba Fett. I'm sure we're gonna have many more references in future episodes, but we're wrapping up the Book of Boba Fett. There's the show. You got our scores. this has been fantastic, and looking forward to some more storytelling coming soon with the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be fantastic. We actually just
And we got an Obi-Wan companion comic series coming along with it.
Oh, dude, so excited about that.
Yeah,
so excited about that. We they actually dropped a note. Was it yesterday or this morning that, or I think it was what's his name? Ewan McGregor confirms that there is at least one scene with him and Hayden Christensen as Obi-Wan and Anakin together on screen.
That's all I need.
Yep. I'm like, oh, dude,
that's great.
It's gonna be a flashback, of course, but still, like that's and apparently what he said is it's a scene you haven't seen before. So it's not a repeat of something before; it's something new. But that's all he's gonna say. So we got some awesome stuff coming this year. We totally do.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That is something I've been waiting for. I was actually hoping that they were just we got to let Ewan McGregor just get old enough, and then we can go back to that character.
Exactly. By the way, before we drop, and this is totally not Star Wars related, but if anybody hasn't checked it out, there is a Vanity Fair article up for the new Lord of the Rings series by Amazon.
Oh my gosh!
And it's not just the 23 posters that they drop that are just busts of people. It is actual set photos, and they describe the characters in the scene.
Yep.
There's a scene of Galadriel in full armor in one of the pictures in the water, or it is. If you haven't checked it out, Vanity Fair, Lord of the Rings. It's a fantastic article. You get so much good content.
Special.
Yes, it's going to be huge. So.
People,
all kinds of good
people might have their issues. No, people might have their issues for Jeff Bezos, but man, he knows where to spend his money: going to space and going to Middle Earth.
And Middle Earth,
if I'm right, that's been $1 billion.
Middle Earth in the Second Age.
In the Second Age.
Yeah, Numenorians.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, I just watched The Lord of the Rings again because all 3 movies, just because of how great those pictures looked. I thought, man, they have just really done it with the production value.
It's
I'm super excited.
Amazing. Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight. Subscribe, like, all the other things. Brandon, it was good to have you back on the show, buddy. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Gaurav, Rich, everyone who's in the comments, thanks for being here too, and we will see you here very soon.
Hey, bye everybody.
Night, everybody.
See ya.
That is me again. Oh well, at least you get the music.